Hello, and thank you for joining our live session today. In today's session, we are going to be talking about gross pay versus mileage pay, both from a company driver perspective, from an owner operator, a lease operator. I think we really need to talk about pay structures. I get a lot of questions about pay structures, especially about this gross versus mileage. I know in Canada here, it's all about mileage. In the US, a lot of people are working on gross systems. So I really wanted to first of all, talk about the different pay structures for truck drivers and then get into some questions from the audience. This is actually one of the first times that I've done a live at this time. I got the okay from the wife to stay home late, to stay at work late today. So I'm excited to be here and to answer all the questions that you guys have about pay structures. So we're going to talk about first the driver's pay. So a truck driver, and then we'll get into the lease operators and owner operators. But really, I mean, the different types of pays that I see here, in Canada is either I see the traditional payroll, and then I see the driver Inc. that has been floating around for years and years, and nobody can get a handle on it. But those are really the most common practices here in Canada. In the U.S., I see the same thing. It's either payroll, it's 1099, but I also see that there is the gross revenue split for company drivers. And for me, that's really, I can't understand why company drivers would work for a gross revenue split. I just don't understand it. When I look at some drivers' pay statements, I see that they're getting paid 25% of gross earnings, 30% of gross earnings. But when you actually do a calculation of mileage, how many miles they drove throughout the month, and what their rate is, there are some drivers that are actually working on 48, 49, 50 cents. Now we're talking about empty miles, loaded miles. I'm talking about all the miles. And when you take their pay, and I get a lot of people that forward me their pay stubs to look over them. And I asked them, I said, why in the world would you as a company driver work on a split commission revenue? I mean, it's really not worth it. Especially, I mean, think about it. When drivers go to Georgia or Florida, outbound loads from there are about $1.40, $1.50, maybe $1.60. If you're doing 25% of that or 30% of that, I mean, you're really only getting paid like 45, 47 cents to come out of there. So I can't understand. I mean, usually company drivers, they work for a flat fee. It's 65, 70 cents per mile. I know that we in Atlanta, Georgia, are paying 65 cents per mile for the 1099 drivers. So I truly don't understand why people would work for the commission revenue split. But again, it's very popular, and I see it in the U.S. Now, as for owner operators and lease operators, I mean, in the U.S., and that's what we're really going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of working on a gross revenue split, which is more, I would call it the Canadian way is more of the mileage. So here in Canada, we get paid per mile on every mile, whether you're a lease operator or owner operator. There is no revenue split here, or it's just not as common as it is in the US. And then in the US, the popular one I would say that I see is always the 8812, or I see the 85-15 method. So 85, the company, the owner operator gets to keep 85% of the gross earnings, while the company driver only gets to keep while the company only gets to keep 15%. And then the owner operator pays literally for everything: the insurance, the plates, the tolls, all on-road expenses, those ELDs, insurance, that trailer. I mean, the owner operator literally pays for everything. So when there's a bad month, I mean, the owner operator can literally go home with absolutely no money at the end of the month because he's literally paid for everything. And I say this multiple times, that what I don't like about the U.S. system is, there is no, I would say that, companies that are not doing a good job, there is no accountability for it. So, if a dispatcher doesn't do a good job, well, whatever, he doesn't care. He only got paid, 12% of the gross revenue split, or 15%, depending on the company that you work with. When you are working for a company that has a per mileage system, it is extremely, there is no fluctuation. So I have actually done a poll with our drivers in the US on what they believe, what they want. And it actually came back with overwhelming majority came back with they would prefer the mileage system, where they don't pay for anything. The only thing they pay for is the fuel and the maintenance and that payment of the truck, and the company pays for all the insurance, the all the on-road expenses, the insurance, the trailer, the reefer fuel. I mean, the company pays for everything. So the one of the greatest advantages of doing the per mileage system is that you don't have any fluctuations when you are working. So it doesn't matter if you are, when the economy is good or the economy is bad, you still get paid per mile, and the fuel surcharge basically goes based on the fuel, how much it costs, at the pump. So a driver would get, I mean, here in Canada, we pay $1.55, and I believe in the US, the rates came in at $1.61 per mile, plus I think it is 8 cents per mile on the fuel surcharge. So literally $1.69 net for every mile that you're driving in the US, minus the fuel and minus that truck payment. So it really gives the lease operator an opportunity to really make money a lot more than a company driver. Now, for anybody out there in a lease purchase program that's working on either the mileage or the revenue, you need to understand that you need to be making more money than a company driver, at least I would say 25 to 30% more than a company driver, because I truly believe that there's got to be an award to being an owner operator. It can't just come with the title, but without the pay. So definitely, things to consider. Drivers' pays is extremely important, whether you are on the mileage system or if you are on the gross revenue split. One of the most important things is that you're getting paid on time. And if you're working for a company that doesn't pay on time, those are real signs that you need to leave, you need to go. I have so many consultations with truck drivers that, a company owes them $15,000 and $14,000 and $12,000. And I always ask them, guys, why did you stick around when that first check bounced? Why did you stick around when that first, $4,000, when they didn't make the payment and they promised you're going to pay the following week? I mean, those are red signs. You literally need to stop working, and you need to, jump ship at the first time that it happens, not the second time, not the third time, because that's how those bills get accumulated. I have so many drivers that said, my payment bounced and then I couldn't fill up the truck, so I used my own money, and now the company owes me $18,000 or $15,000. I'm like, are you crazy? How did you let it get to that? So real good signs. You have to make sure you're working for a company that pays their bills. So does anybody have any questions about the gross or the mileage or the pay difference, or have any questions about pay structures? So here, 18 wheels, bro, I got scammed by 2 companies that refused to pay me. What can I do? So I get this all the time. The first thing you need to do, guys, before you start working for a company, is you need to start reading Google reviews. Okay. You need to do a search on who this company is. You need to see what kind of online presence do they have. I mean, you worked for 2 different companies that refused to pay you. I need to know a little bit more about the story behind. So I use an app called Minect. For those of you that would like, you're more than welcome to, I can put the link in the bottom, but for those of you that would like, you guys are more than welcome to send me a text message or call me, or video, ask me for a video recording. I'll be more than happy to help any one of you guys out on one-on-one. But there is stuff that you can do. You can get paid. But there's definitely things that you can do. Okay, next question. What do you think of driving 5,000 plus miles a week as a solo? 5,000 miles a week as a solo is a decent job today. I'd like to see more of 5,700 miles solo in a week. Again, but in the US, even with our US division, time, it's hard to plan it so much. But now as we start winning, like our Atlanta, Georgia right now, we're starting to win more bids directly with the manufacturing plants. So once you have those direct customers, it's a lot easier to produce miles, to leave loaded trailers for your drivers. So 5,000 miles a week is not bad, but I would like to see 55, 57. You got to maximize your hours. You got to utilize your time. And you got to have a good home life work balance. That's very, very important. Tal, everything's going just fine. Thank you very much. Most guys are just not smart enough to figure it out, and companies make it sound amazing. So I don't think that most guys are not smart enough. I believe that the correct terminology would be that most I think most of us are just maybe naive, or we would like to believe that, that we're going to get paid on time, and that, it really was an honest mistake that check didn't come in on time. It really is an honest mistake when that fuel card is not working. But when that fuel card is not working, I'm telling you, or that paycheck is not, we got to stop being naive. And we got to start understanding that these are just, tactics that people do in order to make you stay longer without getting paid. All right. Can you explain highway? A little bit more detail, please. So your thoughts on 1099 versus W-2? For me, gross line haul percent was better than mileage. I'm not in any way degrading or saying don't work mileage, but for me, it wasn't my cup of tea. So I do understand the gross mileage system, the gross pay system for company driver when you're doing LTL, or when you're doing, short haul, or like some sort of an incentive that gives you a lot more than the cents per mile as a driver working on gross revenue split. But when you are a long haul driver, you need to get paid, anything more than 65 or 70 cents per mile, great. But I never want to see a company driver come under that. It's just not fair. You drivers need to get paid, get fairly compensated, and you need to get paid what, for the mileage that you drive, whether it's empty or loaded. I truly believe that the same thing should be for an owner operator or a lease operator. They need to get paid for every single mile that they're working. I don't agree with the system with that. There's a lot of companies out there that pay, loaded miles a certain amount, and then empty miles something else. So it's our responsibility as trucking companies to find good paying loads, and to find loads, that are with the least amount of, a good dispatcher would find the least amount of deadhead miles between one place to another. And if you are doing deadhead miles, then you better be paid for it and get compensated for it. So I don't believe in a system where, loaded miles and empty miles are paid differently. All right, fuel consumption. How do I get 8 miles per gallon on a truck? Are they driving 60 miles an hour? So no, I mean, a lot of our trucks are getting 8.5, 8.7, 8.9 miles per gallon. In the summertime and spring, we can get to 9.25 on my trucks. I mean, a lot of my fleet gets over 8 miles per gallon, and they're not locked in at 65 miles an hour. They're actually locked in at 65 miles an hour. There's definitely a correlation between idling 2 miles per gallon. There's definitely a correlation of cruise control and miles per gallon. So once you have, once you can see driver habits, whether they're on cruise or they're foot, and if they idle versus drivers that don't idle, you can see that miles per gallon, that 7 miles per gallon is going to become 8 miles per gallon. 8 cents fuel surcharge, that's horrible. 68.5 last pay for me. Well, I don't know what kind of job you're running, but 68.5 cents fuel surcharge is amazing. But it depends what you didn't mention anything about the rate per mile. So some people have a lower fuel surcharge, higher rate per mile. Others will have a higher rate per mile and will have a much lower fuel surcharge. So I believe that $1.61 that we pay in the US is an extremely high rate per mile. Here in Canada, it's $1.55. How much do we pay for an owner-operated 11 years experience and your 5-year-old Freightliner truck? Hanny, it all depends where you are. So are you in Canada or in the US? Hi, Mr. Ronan. Hello. Cole. Hello. How can I get a job in your company? Well, we do have an email address. It's recruiting@ettransport.ca. We have a terminal in Atlanta, Georgia. We have another terminal here in Concord, Ontario, and we have another terminal in Moncton, New Brunswick. One of the reasons why one of our prerequisites for American drivers is that you have to have a passport, is because we like to take advantage of the Canadian market as well when you're in the US. So if you are an American driver driving, we all know how hard it is to get loads out of Florida. We all know how hard it is to get loads out of Georgia. Sometimes, rates out of the East Coast are not paying well. So what we do, especially on a, Wednesday or Thursday, if we have drivers up along the East Coast, or if we have drivers, in Michigan or Ohio, what we'll do is we'll bring that truck back to Toronto in Canada. The driver has to have a passport, crosses the border, comes to Toronto. It's a 7-8 hour drive. Then he comes to our yard, and then all of a sudden he has a loaded trailer there waiting for him for departure, going to Atlanta, Georgia. So we really maximize the hours for our American drivers, and because we're a Canadian, a Canadian fleet. ET Transport is in Canada. ET Motor Freight is in the US. So our American fleet can do the US to US runs. Our Canadian fleet can only do Canada to the US and US to Canada. Dispatcher, I live in Panama. Okay. I'm based in New York. I have my own truck and a 53-footer. What can you offer me? So again, Harpreet, it all depends if you are interested in the per mileage system or if you are interested in the gross revenue split. So I think it would be best that you contact recruiting at ettransport.ca. They'll definitely give you all the information about our updated rates and what we can offer. So after financing a used Cascadia and open a company, can I instantly start booking loads from a board, or I need to wait a few months? Okay, so as a new entrant into the market, I can honestly say that your first 6 months are going to be brutal, very, very hard. A lot of people do not work with new entrants, with new MCs, because a lot of the fraud. I don't know if some of you have seen the video that was released yesterday. Where I had a load taken hostage by a fraudulent carrier. This is exactly what brokerages are trying to eliminate. They will not give any work to anybody with a new MC. I've seen some of them even go stretch as far as 2 years, that they won't give anybody with a new MC for 2 years, give them a load. Well, okay. I went to Canada to deliver a load for first time ever. I delivered in Tillsonburg, Ontario. Adam, awesome. If you ever want to come and see us here at ET Transport, you're more than welcome to. We'll be waiting. I have a private question for you and your advice. Can I PM you or 5 minutes of my time? So you can actually book any questions that you have. You can actually use a link called Minect. I can actually find it over here and put it in. If you give me just 2 seconds, Ronan Gilkarov. So this, sorry guys. Switch to the individual. I will give you guys a link right now for Minect, and what Minect does is basically it gives the ability to anybody to connect with me. You can send me a text message, you can call me. Ronan Gilkarov, Minect. Why does it not let me profile husband? There you go. Okay. Okay. All right. So I've recently started using this app, and it's great because it gives the ability for people to just, connect with me with a text message, connect with me with just a, if somebody has a question that they have, you can ask the question. If somebody has, you want a response from me with a video, I can send you back a video answering your question. So meaning that you don't have to book a full hour consultation with me. Some people just have a question that they want an answer to. I'll answer to the best of my ability. And I think it's a great way for anybody that wants to connect with me. All right, GTA owner operator exclusive to company on 80% split. My net ex maint and all expenses is overall $1 a mile. Hub miles empty loaded. Okay, great. But when will Canadian rates go up? Like in 2018. So I don't think you'll ever see rates up the way they were in 2018. But I do think that the rates have gotten a little bit better. I'm with the company, $1,500 salary weekly, no medical insurance, any benefits. By far the best job I found in 14 years. So HMONG, that's actually the exact amount that our local drivers in Georgia are making. So we do have four full-time local positions right now in Atlanta, Georgia, and what they take home every single week is approximately the $1,500 a week, based on 55 or 60 hours is what they do, and it's $1,500 a week, and I think that's a really good job. Again, it's straight time, but the drivers are loving it. 28% of the rate con on 65 cents per mile, both on 1089. What would be better for my friend as a company driver? These lease purchase programs is terrible on Google reviews. So you're right. There are horrible lease purchase programs out there. If I were you, short track action, I would stick with the 65 cents per mile. Hey, Ronan. My brother is a company driver. As of right now, we're planning on buying a semi in the upcoming months. I've learned dispatching. Do you think we should make him work as an owner operator at a company? So I think it's very good, to start off as an owner operator for a company. If you want, you're more than welcome to take, a dispatch course. We have one that we offer. It's probably the best $110 you'll ever spend in your life. The dispatch course will definitely teach you about, the introduction. I actually have the course outline here. Introduction to the trucking industry, regulations and authority, technology, the role of a dispatcher. There's 10 modules here, and it'll teach you how to book loads also. Now, the great thing about this, the dispatch course is 10 hours, and you can take it at your own pace, at your own time. And I truly believe that, you will definitely understand after the dispatch course if it's something that you want to do or if it's something that you don't want to do. I have posted it on truckingacademy.us, the dispatch course, and it is a great course for you to take, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you want to get into this business. If you're even an owner operator and you want to dispatch yourselves, it's a perfect course for you to understand if you can do it or if you cannot do it. Let me just put the link over here to the course. Again, I've had over 450 people take this course over the last 12 months. And I truly believe that, when I did this course, I actually interviewed a lot of drivers. I interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs on what it is that they want in a course. Okay. All right. Next question. Or should I find him loads myself? So I think you should definitely know, first of all, as a new entrant, you're going to have difficulties. But I think that, that's probably the end goal. But I think you should work as an owner operator first. Okay. Do you hire any company drivers in New Brunswick for local pickups? Any company drivers? Sometimes we do, Derek. Sometimes we do have openings for our New Brunswick. You should reach out to our recruiters. I know that maybe sometimes the hardest placement to find is those local New Brunswick jobs. The second hardest thing is to find the Canada only jobs, which very rarely we have them, but we do have them. But most of the time is the cross-border stuff. Moved out east, have 30 years of driving with 24 with ATS Healthcare. Nice. Derek, feel free to reach out to recruiting@ettransport.ca. All right, guys, if I can ask you guys to take 1 minute or 1 second to just give that thumbs up if you're enjoying the content that I'm sharing. I really try to, come organized to these live events to give you all the information, answer as many questions as I can. But sometimes I need your help, and this is the time that I ask you for it. If you're able to put a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. All right. So does anybody else have any other questions about pay structures, about pay rates, about, jobs in the US, jobs in Canada? This is the time that you can utilize to ask away in the comments below. I'll wait for some feedback. So while I'm getting some of the comments, I'll talk a little bit more about, the dispatch course. In this dispatch course, we actually have a module on documents and moving a shipment. There's also a whole module on hours of service. There's another module for those that are interested in the LTL. There's how to load a trailer properly in the most efficient way. Module number 8, and there's a separate course on this, is the cost of running a truck. Really, really important. How to count the cost of per mile. Everything in our industry is cost per mile, revenue per mile. So if you you could just take this course on its own if you want, the cost of running a truck, and it's a whole 1 hour course, and you won't go wrong with it. Okay, let's go back into the comments. What type of financing do these larger companies use? I see these companies that have new trucks every 2 to 3 years or 300,000 miles, and then they end up selling them at their own dealerships. Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of people, it depends on the model that people have. So for example, we here at ET Transport, we run those trucks for 5 years, 4 years, but after the 3-year mark, we will give it up for a lease purchase. We'll sell it internally to one of the guys that wants to work here at ET Transport. But after 5 or 6 years, we'll sell it to the public. We have at least, 10 units right now that are set for sale. Our units are not standing around. They have drivers in them. We usually sell them, once we have a deposit for the truck, that's when we'll park the truck. We'll take it for a full inspection. After the inspection, it's going to go into a detailing, and then the owner operator or the new buyer can take over that truck. But other people have systems where they, after 300,000 miles, they give it up. So it depends on the system. Each company has their own system. Should I apply for a lease 1099 job while United States has banned these jobs? I don't think United States has banned these jobs, the 1099. I think that there's some states and some jurisdictions that might have banned it, but I don't think that the 1099 is banned from the U.S. I kind of like the Canadian hours of service, like how that you can do a 5-and-5 split rather than a 7-and-3 or 8-and-2. You can go on PC and not know that I was kind of stuck, but made it work out. I'm a little confused on like the heading north and heading south part. I know there are hours of service rules for that as well. So when our drivers, you have to understand that our drivers in Canada, all of our drivers do cross border, so they're bound to the American rules. So in the U.S., you're only allowed 13 hours. You're only allowed 11 hours drive time a day. In Canada, you're allowed 13. On duty in the U.S., you're allowed 14. In Canada, you're allowed 16. Hey, are you going to the Mid-American Truck Show this year? I did. Did I go last year? No, I went back in 2023 to the Mid-American Truck Show. I don't know if I'll be going this year. Next, hello from Brazil. Hello to you too. How do you recommend buying 3 trucks at a time? What I heard was you buy 3 trucks. 1 truck pays off all the expenses for the other 2 trucks. Harpreet, I wish it was that simple. It's actually not. You'd probably need about an hour consultation with me in order for me to teach you about how I would, if you're looking to grow a fleet from 1 truck to 3 trucks to 5 trucks to 7 trucks, there is a system. I actually consult many companies on this, on how to do it. Owner operators that have 1 truck, then they buy the 2nd truck. Once you have the core foundation properly, once you build that trucking company properly, it's very easy to scale up when there's work. It's extremely easy to scale up when there's work. So if you are interested, if you need help on how to do that, feel free to book a consultation with me, either through Monect or through the truckingacademy.us platform. Okay. Was looking forward to meet you there. Larry, I would love to go to the Mid-American Truck Show. It's just sometimes, I'm overwhelmed with my schedule and I don't know if I'll be able to make it. If it was a little closer to home for me to Toronto, I probably would. But feel free to, anytime you're in Canada, feel free to reach out and I'd be more than happy to meet with you. If there aren't any more comments, guys, if you have any more questions, you're more than welcome to ask right now. We'll probably have 3 more minutes to this live, or if more questions are going to start coming in, then I'll answer as many questions as I can. All right. Your opinion on why the turnover rate is so high for drivers and what does the industry need to do about it? Okay, so I don't think that the turnover rate is high only amongst drivers. I think it's also amongst dispatchers, also amongst employees. It's all over the place. People just don't hold down jobs as much as they used to. You can see this in, the bank system, in the bank world. Somebody used to work for a bank, for the top 5 banks. He would start and finish his career at the bank. Today, you don't see that anymore. You see a lot of people hopping around. I think it's something to do with the new generation. I think it's something to do with our patience as human beings has definitely decreased. People just don't have patience anymore. One small thing is wrong, they'll just leave. I think that I think that you see that amongst drivers and you also see that amongst employees today. But amongst drivers, the turnover rate, you really need to give a driver something to feel like they are a part of something. And the whole pickup and delivery and pay on time, there's hundreds of companies that will give you loads, that will give you mileage, that will give you pay on time. My drivers, for example, they love it when people come up to them and say, hey, how are you? And people just start talking to my drivers because they see the ET logos. They're like, whenever they walk into a truck stop or whenever they park their truck, people will just approach them and start talking to them. Hey, how's the company? We see you guys on YouTube all the time. And they start talking to our drivers, and our drivers love that. They love the fact that, our exposure is online, and I get, all the time I get at shippers, at the receivers, where the drivers will come from ET Transport, like, oh wow, we see your YouTube channel all the time, and they really, like, you just have to give drivers something a little bit more to be a part of, to be excited about, it's not just about the mileage, it's not just about, I personally try to, reach out to my drivers and talk to them every 2 or 3 weeks. It gets hard because there's so many of them, but I really do try it. If you talk to any one of my drivers, they'll tell you that they know Ronan on a personal level. They have, a lot of them have my cell phone number. A lot of them can just, pick up the phone, or, well, I might not pick up the phone, but they can text me. I'm more into texting than the phone calling, but I think that the turnover rates, they're like that all over the place, not just with drivers. What's the average rate per mile today? So the average rate per mile, actually a national average as of today, was $2.18 for January in the van reefer division, and I think it was $2.57 per mile in the reefer division. So definitely a huge spike in freight rates. And that's why I see a lot of people entering the market. I see this in our dispatch room. I see this in, on my website, on all websites of ours. I see, especially in the website that I created for documents. Like when I was opening up the trucking terminal in Atlanta, Georgia, it was so hard for me to get documents like, contracts, agreements. There's so many, safety and compliance documents. There's so many documents, HR documents. So I said to myself, like, oh my God, if I'm having such a hard time coming up with these documents or finding these documents, I told myself that every time I needed a document, I would post it on this website and I would make it that everybody can have access to this. Yes, obviously there's a small fee for these documents on truckingacademy.us, but that's the way you guys can support our channel, and it's just made it an easy place for everybody to be able to get into. If you're getting into the industry and if you need documents, doesn't matter which document, you'll most likely find it on the website of truckingacademy.us. And I will post up the link right here for everybody to have it. All right, where do you see the trucking industry in the US side in the next 5 to 10 years? So I think with the new administration, you'll definitely see good things happening for the trucking industry within the U.S. I don't know how it's going to be with cross-border trade because of the tariffs or the threats of the tariffs, the 25%. I think that if the 25% does come out, it's definitely not going to be a good sign for cross-border trade. But I think that a lot in the U.S., I think things are going to do very, very well over there because Trump is all about the U.S. and he's all about America first, energy independent, drilling. So I think for the U.S., I think it's really, really good over the next 4 years. After his administration, I have no idea, but I feel like even the last 7 days or 8 days that he's been in office, I think that he's done a lot. I think more than any other president has done, in history with what he's done over the first week. What's the average? What documents needed to cross border loads? So you need customs, you need a bill of lading, and you need a customs invoice, and you need a customs broker. You are very intelligent, Adam. Thank you very much. I appreciate your comment. Be realistic and tell me honestly. Do you think that there's a chance we can see hours of service change or get rid of the ELDs? Getting rid of the ELDs, I just don't see that happening. This whole thing about the Green New Deal and what is it called, the pollution and the new truck mandates, I think that will be dropped. I don't think that they're going to proceed with it. I think that the new administration is against it, all these regulations, but I don't think that the ELDs are going to be dropped. I think that the ELDs will stay the way that they are. How much is a consultation fee? I believe so. Texting, there's a texting fee. There's a 15-minute block, a 30-minute block. All you have to do is go into the link on Monect or on Google. Just type in Monect and then do my first and last name, Ronan Gilkrov, and then all my fees will come out over there on texting. It's not that much. I think it's $10 for a text message, and you'll get a response from me. But I think pretty reasonable fees. How much is your consultation fee? We answered that. Harpreet, no, they should put more ELD hours of service to 10 hours. Okay. How do you pay your drivers? By the mile, by the hour, or percentage? So we here at ET Transport, our local drivers are all paid by the hour. Our highway drivers are all paid by the mile. In the U.S., the same thing, and also in Moncton, New Brunswick, the same thing. Long haul gets paid by the mileage. regional guys, the ones that are in Moncton or in Atlanta, Georgia, the ones that sleep at home every single night, the local drivers, they all get paid hourly. Okay, all trucking is sick. All trucking is suck. The rate is killing and maintaining. They are making money. Even ET, they also make money in part too. In part, I don't get that. I don't understand what that is. But as a brand new owner operator, currently working with a company, but after doing your dispatch course, I would be able to book my own loads. Absolutely, yes. So after the dispatch course, you'll have the knowledge to be able to put your company together. We also have, links for a step-by-step guide on how to open up your own trucking company. You just need to convince that one or two brokers to use you. Once you have one review, a second review, a third Google review, people will start using you, especially if you take a picture of your truck. People really want to see now pictures of the truck with the driver in it to make sure that, and pinged at a certain location. They want to make sure, because with all the fraud, they want to make sure that it's that truck actually picking up that load and not somebody else. All right. Ronan, with 3 kilometers liter fuel mileage, 12,000 miles a month, how much can I make with? So I'm really sorry, but I don't know kilometers. My brain is only trained with the miles per gallons, even though Canada is on kilometers. The only problem with that is I work 90% in the US, where, in the US all the time. So I've been taught to think, miles per gallon. So I don't know the kilometers per liter. Hey, Ronan, I'm about to undergo a career transition later this year. How likely is it to try dispatching with a 9 to 5? So realistic expectations, if you take a dispatch course, whether it's mine or anybody else, if you think you're going to nail yourself a $110,000 job, let me be the first one to burst that bubble. It's not going to happen. The dispatch course is really meant for you to understand how the industry works, to understand regulations and authorities, the technology that we use, the documents. You should really read the reviews that we have on actual people that took the course. And you'll hear probably the good, the bad, you'll hear everything. But I think that after that, you might find yourself in entry-level position to be able to go work. And then slowly climb up the ladder. It's not going to give you, you're not going to be able to find a dispatch. You can't take this course and think that I can just put you in my dispatch room and you'll know everything about dispatching. You still need somebody to hold your hand, and you still need somebody to train you, on systems, to train you on the certain things that we do here, whether it's ET Transport or any other company. Okay, I don't know what that is. Okay, I think autonomous trucking is just stupid. Okay, let's not talk about autonomous trucking. I don't think it's coming out anytime soon. Do you want Canada to be a state? To tell you the truth, if I had to vote, I think I would vote for yes. I would much rather Canada be a 51st state. I think we would benefit greatly from it. I might get attacked a lot, but I think I'd be the first one to be on board with that. Can I work with you in USA as Canada only in US? I don't get your question. If you're Canadian with no status in the US, we would not allow you to work in our Georgia division. If you're an American with no status in Canada, you wouldn't be able to work in our Canadian division. You can come into Canada, and the Canadians can go into the US, but you can only pick up a load in the country that you do not reside in. You can only pick up a load and then come back to your country. You cannot work within the US as a Canadian. Diesel in California is $4.60. Average in Northern California, when last year in the December it was $4.15. Do you think the price will be going down in the near future? So, here's my honest opinion. I don't think that Trump picking on Canada is a great thing for fuel and oil. I think that the only thing that the Canadians have over the U.S. is that we supply, I think it's 4 million barrels a day to the U.S. With our oil. So I feel like if he's going to slap on 25%, taxes in Canada, you can better believe that that the fuel is going to start going up. If he does not declare on February 1st that he's slapping 25% on Canada, I think that you might see the fuel coming down a little bit. Both countries, I believe, need to work together. Do you guys use a fast program? Yes, we do. 7 miles per gallon. Yes. Thank you, Ronan. Okay. What I buy truck in US and work with you will be able to give me work as an owner operator regarding when can I book time with you. So there's a few questions here. when I buy a truck in the US, and can I work with you is what I think the question is. Can I give you work? So yes, we can give you work if you are in the US as an owner operator working under our in our system and our authorities. If you're working under your own, we are not a broker in the US. We have our brokerage license here in Canada, and we can sell loads US to US. But we do not, we're a carrier in the US, and we're there to either build relationships directly with the manufacturing plants or work with brokers. And in order to book a time with me, you're more than welcome to book a time with me anytime you want, as long as my calendar is available. Again, use that Minect app. You'd be able to, you're more than welcome to send me a text message first, ask me a question or two. And if you can't, if it's not sufficient, then you can book a time slot with me. Will you hire someone with 2 years experience from Moncton Terminal? Unfortunately, we here at ET Transport, we require 3 years at a minimum to work here at ET Transport. We honestly only want the cream of the crop for drivers working for our fleets. We find that there's a lot of problems with, drivers that have, 6 months experience, 1 year experience, and we don't have the infrastructure to deal with that. We really want to deal with, the professional drivers. And we feel also that, over the years, I've understood that professional drivers with 3+ years of experience, they really want to work with other drivers that are professional drivers that also have 3+ years of experience. I really like the truck prices and the rates per mile video. I'm not an owner operator. I was working as a company driver for a grocery store in Phoenix, Arizona. Nice. Again, I'm getting a lot of traction on the owner operator rate per mile, especially from the American side. It's nonstop phone calls. It's nonstop. They really want that system in the US. What if I get a open work visa? Okay, so I really don't want to answer those open work visas questions. Oh, actually, hold on one second. What if I get an open work visa then could I work in Canada if I wanted to run in Canada? So Adam, if you're an American, why in the world would you want to run for Canada? Our rates are a lot lower. Our dollar is a lot less than the American dollar. There's absolutely no point of running in Canada if you're an American. I live in Ontario, and I'm about to get my AZ for long haul trips. I would also like to know a few things about truck insurance. Any idea how much it's going to be for a new AZ driver? So I have absolutely no idea because I don't deal with new AZ drivers. I just know that you better make sure to go to a qualified trucking school. Hopefully it's a TTSAO certified school. But yeah, I don't know much about getting jobs as a newly licensed driver. I'm an American, but I like to have a job that's cross-border to Canada. Can you hire me? Absolutely. Pappy, I can definitely hire you if you are an American, as long as you have a valid passport. That's the one thing that we ask in our Atlanta, Georgia terminal. It's the years of experience plus a passport plus a valid passport. Thanks, Ronan. I see you soon. Joker. I'll see you soon for sure. I have 3 years of experience. Pappy, definitely. Please reach out to our recruiters. You can reach out to recruiting@ettransport.ca and just let them know that you are part of this live session and that I said that I would be more than willing to hire you. I'll definitely remember the name Pappy. So just reference Pappy and reference this live session that you're a part of. All right, guys, we are at the 42-minute mark. How to contact you? So you can again recruiting recruiting@ettransport.ca for Canada. If you send an email to recruiting@ettransport.ca, that's how you'd be able to get a hold of me. I see the emails, so just send it over there. Now, as a Canadian citizen, can I establish a truck company in the USA and drive my truck there? Absolutely not. You would not be able to drive in the US. As a Canadian citizen, you'd be able to open a company in the US and run a company in the US, but you would not be able to drive a truck in the US without legal status in the US. So what happened with your scammed load a few days ago? So we did post the load that somebody took hostage. They actually got away with it. There was not much that we can do. We did not settle. We did not pay them the bill. I asked them 10 times. I told them I would meet them at the delivery. I'd give them, cash, or I'd give them whatever the hell they wanted. But they have to arrive first. And they were afraid I was going to call the police or have the police there. So they basically are still with the load. There's no correspondence. We're going to claim on their insurance. and there's really not much that we can do moving forward except do our job better. So I solely 100% blame our team over here for falling into this trap. We should have done much better checks. And again, the only thing I could say is we learned from our mistakes, and that's all we can do. All right. Any other questions, last minute questions before we leave and end this live? All right. I guess not. So thank you guys all. Again, if you could take just a second, if you can, put a thumbs up. If you're watching this video on any platform, leave a comment down below. Let me know that if you like the content. But if you actually want me to do a live session, if there's another topic that you'd like for me to talk about, recommend them in the comments. I'd be more than happy to do a live session. If there's more comments on a certain topic that people want to hear, I'd be more than happy to to talk about it. So thank you guys all for joining this live session. I appreciate it. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up to help me with that algorithm so it gets pushed out to more people out there and more truck drivers. Any tips on how I find customers, that you'll have to wait for another live session. Thank you, Ronan, for your time. Thank you guys all for participating, and best of luck to all of you. Hopefully we'll cross paths one day.